surging past every barrier and pouring into the hidden recesses where your soul longs for guidance. From the heights, I behold every tremor of your heart, and I see the moments you feel lost amid faces layered with many masks. Yet in that very hour, I placed within you a sacred torch, spiritual eyes, anointed by the Spirit, so that when you open them, darkness must retreat and concealed intentions are laid bare. As Hebrews declares, everything is uncovered and exposed before the eyes of him to whom we must give account. 4:13. When you look through the lens, I grant, nothing can hide its true nature. Therefore, do not be surprised if you pause before an apparently innocent smile and your soul rings a warning bell, or if you suddenly discern the pain behind someone's proud posture. This revelation is not given to make you proud, still less to make you anxious. It is ocular armor forged in the furnace of insight, shielding you from the poison-tipped arrows of deceit. I give you power to distinguish flattery from genuine grace, a calculating handshake from a sincere embrace, so you may walk securely. For the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. Remember the scene at Dothan. Elisha was surrounded by Aramean troops, his servant trembling, but the prophet only smiled and prayed, "Lord, open his eyes so that he may see." Then the servant beheld an army of horses and chariots of fire encircling the mountain, far outnumbering the enemy. 2 Kings 6:15-17. I recount this not to add dramatic color, but to remind you that the same power covers you. When your gaze aligns with heaven's vision, you will realize you are never alone. Unseen guardians are stronger than every visible force arrayed against you. Still, I know there are times you sigh, "Father, why must I see so much I would rather not?" Every new beam of light exposes dust yet unswept. Truth can blaze so brightly, it makes your eyes sting. But I unveil these things so you can avoid the snare, not so your soul grows heavy, like a farmer at dawn who separates wheat from weeds. The sunlight helps him uproot what would harm the harvest. The discernment I give is a golden sickle in your hand, cutting bitter roots before they choke the fruit of peace. Do not fear becoming suspicious. I have not called you into a desert of cynicism, but into a garden of wisdom. I expose the counterfeit so you may cherish the true. Reveal falsehood to forge integrity. When your soul tastes unconditional joy, you will embrace the wounded without letting their hurt cling to you. Seeing beneath a hardened shell, you will reflect mercy rather than judgment. For mercy triumphs over judgment. James 2:13. Understanding without bitterness. Watchful yet gentle, that is the hallmark of one who carries the eyes of heaven. In the unfolding flow of this revelation, I also encourage you to cultivate a pure heart, lest you grow indifferent to the grace that brings illumination and forget to guard the inner current. Though the eyes may perceive clearly, the heart must remain tender, as a polished mirror must be continually wiped clean. So your inner being must be saturated with my word, so that it is not dulled by the dust of pride. When you choose forgiveness, you are preserving your vision from being obscured by the mist of resentment. When you choose humility, you are removing the lens of judgment, allowing love to guide your steps. And even when you perceive many shadows, you are still able to respond with the gentle light of an oil lamp that warms rather than condemns. Let me also remind you of Nathanael, whom I called while he was still under the fig tree. When he was astonished that I knew the details of his private life, I said to him, "I saw you before Philip called you." John 1:48-49. Do you see it now? My gaze precedes the call. I understand every depth within you that you have not yet dared to speak. In the same way, I grant you the ability to see beyond the outward coverings of others, so that you may love them as I have loved. For the Lord sees what is done in secret, Matthew 6:6. When you anchor others in this truth, you will no longer react from the instinct of offense, but will respond according to the very rhythm of compassion that flows from my heart. Therefore, whenever you enter a room, do not be unsettled by chaotic energies, but allow my peace to flow out through your eyes. As Joshua once stood before the Ark of the Covenant and the waters of the Jordan retreated, you may quietly declare, "The light of the Father is here," and the shadows will begin to tremble. You are not sent to expose and condemn. You are sent so that the atmosphere may be reformed by the presence of love. I will teach you when to remain silent and observe, when to speak words of comfort, and when to give firm warning, every movement aligned to a single thread, to rescue the wandering and to keep your own soul anchored in peace. My child, hide my word in your heart like a precious jewel, and when the winds of doubt rise, remember that I go before you, cutting through the tangled paths of hidden schemes, making the way straight so that you will not stumble as you run after the sound of my call. This new vision within you will not take away simple joy. Rather, it will sharpen it, for you now know who walks beside you on this fragile journey. I give you this final assurance. Whoever lives by the truth comes into the light. John 3:21. As you faithfully walk in that stream of light, you will find your heart expanding like the dawn. And as Elisha declared to his servant, "Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them." You will perceive the encampment of heavenly hosts surrounding you, so that your eyes, ears, and heart will together sing the song of triumph that truth has prevailed, and darkness no longer has the power to surprise or overwhelm you. Now I place my hand upon your head and bless you. Walk with steady vision, gentle light, and enduring love, so that wherever your eyes turn, truth will resound as testimony, and every soul you encounter will find comfort in knowing there is one who sees deeply and still loves fully. And whenever you gently blink, remember this: I am looking through you, revealing myself to a world still searching for a guiding light. My child, I call your soul to stand still for a moment and feel the breath of heaven gently lifting your gaze. For from this moment you no longer perceive the world through ordinary senses, but through a lens cleansed by the oil of spiritual insight. This light flows from the very life I have given you, turning every glance into a path of deep revelation, where truth emerges like a seed, breaking through dark soil. As it is written, your eye is the lamp of your body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. Luke 11:34. Your awakened perception now dispels every shadow, and I rejoice that you have been chosen to carry this lamp into places others believe are unseen. Therefore, do not be surprised if some are unsettled when they meet your gaze. They will feel a force that causes pretenses as thin as mist to dissolve before denial can even form. Nor should you be troubled when the atmosphere appears calm, yet your heart rings with warning. For I have expanded your inner discernment so that it reaches depths not visible on human faces. This revelation is not given to make you harsh, but to shape you as a physician of souls, able to discern where oil must be applied, where a hidden wound must be addressed, and where stepping back is necessary to preserve peace. As I have spoken, everything exposed by the light becomes visible. Ephesians 5:13. So whenever you unveil what is hidden, remember that the purpose is always restoration, never condemnation. However, I also want you to walk in wisdom and understand this. Darkness often recognizes the presence of light within you faster than you are able to recognize its subtle tactics. It will retreat, shift its form, and sow delicate strands of doubt to make you question whether you have become overly suspicious. Do not let your heart be shaken, for such resistance is only confirmation that you are stepping into a realm of authority where darkness can no longer rely on surprise or disguise. In those moments, do not lean on your old patterns of reasoning, but quietly remind your spirit, I belong to the light. I am not governed by unstable emotions or words sweetened to deceive. When you stand firm in truth, every blade of deception will grow dull before humility, and you will continue to walk in peace. Let me tell you a story that is rarely remembered. When Balaam was riding his donkey toward Moab, his heart was both restless and clouded, and it was the lowly donkey alone that saw the angel standing in the way with a drawn sword. Balaam struck the donkey, thinking it rebellious. But then the donkey spoke, and his own eyes were opened. He fell to the ground when he realized he had nearly come upon the edge of heaven's judgment. Numbers 22:21-35. You see, the physical eye can appear sharp and yet remain blind, while the vision illuminated by the Spirit can dwell even within the most humble vessel. I remind you of this so that you remember that the gift of discernment is never given to elevate pride, but to draw you into reverent humility, acknowledging your limits and asking me to guard every step you take. Therefore, when you sense distortion entering a space, breathe deeply, listen inwardly, and allow the light I have placed within you to extend outward. If you must speak, let your words be like a refined blade, cutting away what is false without harming what is whole. If you must remain silent, let your silence speak louder than accusation. A true vine does not strain to prove it is alive. The sap within it already flows, and in its season it bears sweet fruit. I say this to free you from the exhaustion of pretense. You were not created to conform to the performances of others. You were created to become a window through which truth may enter. For in recognizing, you are also entrusted with responsibility, and this is not a burden, but an honor. Yet, my child, keep in mind that clear vision must always be held within a tender heart. Do not allow understanding to become a new mask of pride. The glory of light is not only to reveal, but to cover with grace. Let your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119:105. Wash away every residue of judgment from your sight. Forgive quickly as lightning, and understand deeply as an underground stream, so that bitterness does not stain your perception when darkness appears to repeat itself. As you grow in humility, your vision will become sharper as you cultivate love. Your gaze will become warmer, allowing the broken to lay down their masks and the sincere to find rest in your presence. Finally, I seal upon your soul this mark: you are a child of the day, not belonging to the dim shadows of night. For you are all children of light and children of the day. 1 Thessalonians 5:5. Therefore do not be troubled when darkness cries out loudly. It is only wagering on your old fears. Remember this, your eyes are no longer alone. I shine through you as the sun through a prism, turning a single beam into a spectrum of redeeming light. Walk forward in this way quietly, steadily, and gracefully, so that whenever your gaze passes through a conversation, what is true will be upheld. What is false will fade from its stage. And you, under the shelter of my wings, will remain in peaceful joy, knowing that every exposure is not meant to destroy, but to bring forth what is good and to cause my name to be revealed wherever your feet tread. My beloved, listen to the rhythm echoing within your chest, for it is the sound I am awakening in you to understand that light does not only shine through your eyes, but also flows from a heart refined in the fire of love. When your eyes encounter darkness in others, do not let your soul waver between approval and rejection. Instead, let your heart rest in gentleness. As I once looked upon Adam in the fallen garden and still called out, "Where are you?" A question not meant to accuse, but to restore what was lost. Therefore, If you see someone broken, do not release them in haste. Hold them with the gentleness of the Spirit. For love is patient. Love is kin. It does not seek to harm. 1 Corinthians 13:4-5. And this very flow will make the light you carry strong enough to expose falsehood, yet warm enough to heal wounds no one else can see. Know this: the season of revelation I appoint for you is not merely a curtain being lifted to expose more facts. It is a spiraling ascent, lifting you from reactive instincts into a stable authority of peace. You see more in order to love more deeply. You discern more in order to heal more quickly. When I breathe upon your eyes, I also expand the chambers of your heart, so that everything you perceive is filtered through the river of grace and not hardened by judgment. This is the transformation from vague sensing into precise revelation. Once you felt unease without understanding, now you can name the roots of that unease and speak release over it. Once emotions carried you, now you walk by decisions anchored in truth. Like a builder, placing the cornerstone before raising the arch, you are stepping out of the cycle of seeing and fearing into the rhythm of seeing and healing. For the light I have formed within you is a light that knows how to pour oil and bind wounds. To help you grasp this fully, let me tell you a rarely spoken scene. When Nehemiah returned from exile to Jerusalem, he did not merely observe the broken walls with his eyes. His heart shattered alongside every fallen stone. And so, instead of blaming the remaining people for their laziness, he wept, prayed, and rose to mobilize each family to lay down stones for restoration. It was his tears before God that became the blueprint of rebuilding, transforming a vision of ruin into a tangible work of renewal. My child, I give you this story to impress upon you that when you see collapse in others, holy tears become the mortar, and humble love becomes the trowel that rebuilds the dignity the enemy once trampled. A mature spirit does not measure success by how often it exposes what is wrong, but by how many souls are guided back to a place of safety and peace. Do not forget that darkness also studies you. It recognizes the light in your eyes and sends subtle disturbances, hoping to make you doubt the very discernment I have trained within you. In those moments, remember that the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. 2 Corinthians 10:4. You do not overcome through strained effort, but through a heart anchored in truth, listening, remaining still, and discerning wisely. Each time you stand firm in the midst of waves of doubt, you prepare the way for a higher level of revelation, and each time you respond to deception with kindness. You force falsehood to drop its mask, because it cannot endure the atmosphere of sincerity. Like salt dissolving frozen ground, your gentleness breaks through layers of concealment, allowing others the chance to step into light without being wounded. And there will come a moment when you realize that the eyes I have given you carry a function that awakens truth wherever you go. When you enter a room, the atmosphere shifts, lies preparing to be spoken falter. Schemes of deception begin to tremble, because the light you carry exposes the hidden cracks where darkness hides. But do not allow this to become pride within you. Instead, bow in gratitude, for such authority belongs to the source of light, not to the vessel that carries it. Your greatest praise is to live rightly, to walk rightly, to discern the flow of life and align it with the direction of restoration. In this way, every decision you make, from the way you comfort with your hands to the wisdom in your correction, becomes a marker recorded by heaven. This light does not only shatter, but also builds anew. Now I lay my hand upon your eyes and your heart once more, blessing them so that these two sources of light may burn in one rhythm, strong yet gentle, sharp yet peaceful, revealing truth without breaking the bruised reed that trembles in the wind. As you walk, let your heart remain soft like clay in the hands of the potter, so that I may shape you into a vessel whose opening grows wider able to hold the oil of joy in ever-increasing measure. And whenever you find yourself weary from repeating encounters with deception, listen for my comforting voice. You see with mature eyes, therefore you carry a mature weight. I am with you. I bear it with you, and I prepare victory even within every collision. Then you will smile with quiet gentleness. Continue your steps. Continue reading life as an open scroll, and continue inscribing upon it the mark of light that knows how to love to the very end. My beloved, close your eyes for a moment and let my breath pass over your forehead like the wind of early morning. Then open them again to see reality under the light of a sacred dawn, not a harsh brilliance that causes you to shrink back, but a gentle radiance that dissolves the fog of illusion that has long clung to your vision. I know that when you begin to see more deeply, your heart may tremble with fear of becoming harsh, but the illumination I give is not a sword of condemnation. It is a key that breaks chains, opening the door for you to step out of the prison of deception that once confined your emotions, your dreams, and even the way you judged yourself. When you touch truth, even if it stings at first, you will come to experience what John 8:32 calls freedom. For only true light is strong enough to separate your soul from the garments tightened by false expectations and the scripts others have written for you. And I understand why you are drawn to return to the half-lit places, where surfaces appear smooth, where polished smiles abound, and where the warmth of community seems to shelter the heart. But my child, that still surface hides depths that can pull your soul under once again, and I will not allow that. Therefore, I open your eyes so you may see the fractures in trust before they collapse. So you may hear the quiet machinery of selfishness beneath layers of apparent devotion before you are forced to drink the bitter cup of betrayal in full. Do not fear the brief sorrow that comes when you realize even those you love are wrestling within different layers of spiritual struggle. That sorrow is only a process of cleansing for the heart, protecting it from deeper wounds yet to come. As it is written in Psalm 119, 130, the unfolding of your word gives light. It gives understanding to the simple. And so this light may bring a momentary ache, but it returns to you feet that are lightened, no longer bound in tension between illusion and truth, to help you hold firmly to what I teach you. Remember the story of Samuel in Bethlehem. The prophet once assumed that the tall and impressive Eliab would be the chosen king. But I said, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. He had to pass through 7 strong and noble brothers before encountering the young David, still carrying the scent of the pasture and the simplicity of the fields. And it was precisely this expanded vision that led to the anointing of the one no one expected. That story, my child, is the guiding principle for this season of elevation. If you cling to old sight, you will anoint ambition by mistake, but when you align with my vision, you will recognize hidden worth and awaken what lies dormant both within you and within those I entrust to your care. Do not allow newly revealed shadows to diminish your compassion. I give you eyes like a torch, but I also give you a heart like a spring. The torch illuminates the path, and the spring nourishes the ground that is dried up in shame. When you perceive distorted motives, choose forgiveness before conversation, for forgiveness lifts you high enough to see the whole picture, and from that height you will find a way forward for both sides. When you uncover hidden layers of pretense, ask me to guide you in gentle unraveling. For every mask that falls should be followed by a cloth that wipes tears, not the applause of victory. This is why I lift you from the level of emotional reaction into the level of authority. Those who walk in authority are not shaken by waves, because they stand upon the rock of truth. When you hear whispers that plant doubt, remember that I have given you authority to walk on serpents and scorpions without harm. Darkness may change its tactics, but the light within you rises to new levels. and at every level. My peace surrounds you like armor. Therefore, from this moment onward, whenever your eyes encounter what is not true, let love immediately flow through your renewed lens. For the mission of a liberator is not to expose and abandon, but to extend a hand that points the way home. You may ask, but what if they do not want to return? I answer you, keep your light steady and gentle beside them. For persistent light is a patient invitation. Those who are fleeing cannot forever resist steady warmth. If they do not return, you remain safe because you stand in truth. And if they do return, heaven and earth rejoice over a soul restored. This new path may tire you, but lean upon me. Along the way I will remind you that as long as your steps remain faithful, I will handle the outcome. And when the day ends and you sit to count your steps, you will not find yourself diminished. Instead, every encounter with truth will have returned to you fragments of your true self that illusion once held captive. Remember this well. I do not allow you to remain blind for even another day. For I love you too deeply to permit you to dwell in polished illusions. The truth I unveil does not weaken you, it strengthens your very bones, so that when the winds of upheaval pass through, you rise like grass after a refreshing rainstorm. So stand firm, my child, like a young olive tree before the temple. Though storms may strike, its roots remain deep, its sap continues to rise, and its season of fruitfulness will surely come. I bless your eyes to grow clearer and your heart to grow steadier, so that, along your journey, you will both read the story of life and also write new chapters of hope for those still searching for an unchanging light. My beloved, allow me to lead you into a moment of stillness, where the mirror of heaven is cleansed in the river of grace, reflecting your true image without distortion from the noise on every side. You have thought yourself fragile, yet the light I shine upon you reveals a hidden strength within your emotional depths. What you once considered sensitivity as a burden is now revealed as a gleaming sword. The compassion you once feared might be exploited now stands as a royal seal I have placed upon your chest, affirming that you belong to the kingdom of mercy. Therefore, do not let the labels of others bend the posture I have given you. I have immersed the old mirror in the living waters to wash away the dust of judgment, and now you see yourself through a clarity untouched by the haze of painful memory. For we are His workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works. Ephesians 2:10. This truth sounds like a dawn bell, declaring your value beyond every distorted report spoken over you. Understand this deeply. The revelation I place upon you is not a heavy cloak that weighs down your shoulders, but a living armor that fits your form, allowing you to walk through chaotic streets with a heart that remains steady as a cornerstone. When you begin to see intentions behind invitations, you will no longer fall into unnecessary drama. When you discern the motives hidden beneath a gesture of approval, you will gently step back in peace. When you recognize unspoken pain in the eyes of those you love, you will not erupt in reaction, but extend a shelter of gentleness over them. This revelation teaches you to love rightly, to keep healthy boundaries, to choose the right battles, and to walk in wisdom just as it is written. The prudent see danger and take refuge. Proverbs 22:3. I do not give you insight to make you cold or detached, but so that your love will no longer spill blindly and become stagnant, but remain pure, directed, and life-giving. Let me tell you the story of Gideon, the young man who hid himself in a winepress, convinced he was the least in the smallest tribe. Yet the angel came and called him, "Mighty warrior." And in that instant, his eyes were opened. He saw both his people under oppression and the hidden seed of victory within himself. He tore down the altar of falsehood, gathered 300 warriors, and threw jars of clay and the sound of trumpets. The inner fire shone so brightly that the Midianite army fell into confusion and fled, Judges 6:7. I remind you of this so you may understand. When I call your true name, fear must shrink back and justice rises. And what you once thought was weakness becomes the very strategy I use to subdue darkness. My child, I see your hesitation because you fear that seeing too much will tire your heart. But remember this, the armor of light I give you is also a garment of rest. Whenever deception is exposed and your heart feels a sting, let me bind it with this promise. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart. Philippians 4:7. If you taste sorrow when truth reveals the hidden reality of those you trusted, place that grief upon the altar. I will turn its fire into fragrance, not thorns that wound your soul. And whenever you step back in confusion, I am right behind you, gently guiding you forward into authority, where you steer the vessel of your emotions rather than being carried away by its waves. Understand this clearly. Your new weapons are not swords of accusation or sharp judgment, but healing hands that rest upon broken places, and feet fitted with the readiness of peace. You will encounter those who wear many masks, and instead of tearing them away, you will awaken within them a hunger for truth so that they may lay them down themselves. You will meet those who growl in defense, and instead of striking back, you will look through their anger into the wounded place beneath it and breathe a calm wind over it. This is where you begin to understand the words of 1 Peter 4:8. Love covers a multitude of sins, not by ignoring them, but by bringing them into a light warm enough for transformation to begin. And I also remind you not to forget to look upon yourself regularly in the mirror I have cleansed. At times you will notice traces of pride or lingering sorrow clinging quietly to your reflection. When that happens, do not turn away in shame, but allow me to wash it away with the water of my word. For your word is truth, John 17:17. And truth is what sanctifies. The clearer the mirror becomes, the more easily you recognize the form of the jewel I have shaped within you, a form that teaches you that mercy is not a shield for compromise, but a corridor that leads the wandering into the discipline of love. If one day you must refuse an alluring invitation, remember it is a silent victory. What was meant as a trap has been passed over without your spirit being scattered. And if in the night you find yourself awake, sensing an unseen storm around those you love, let that wakefulness become intercession. For when you are weak, my power is made perfect. 2 Corinthians 12:9. Even the briefest tears shed in hidden places become rivers beneath valleys, nourishing the unseen gardens of the heart until they bloom at the time you least expect. Finally, I bless the eyes of your heart wherever your gaze rests. Falsehood will feel exposed and uneasy, while sincerity will begin to blossom. I also bless your heart itself. Its rhythm will keep the seed of compassion moist and alive, never drying out even under the scorching light that reveals many sharp truths. Walk on, my child, with armor wrapped around you, yet a flowing mantle upon you, for the armor protects you from every poisoned arrow, while the mantle reminds the world that gentleness has never been a sign of weakness. And when the evening of your journey falls, you will look back and not see the dragging footprints of exhaustion, but a trail of stars marking every moment you loved rightly, discerned rightly, and stood firm. Then you will smile, knowing you have lived fully that long day in my unending light. My beloved child, lean in and listen closely, for at the crossroads of many rushing voices, I speak with a gentle yet decisive tone so that you may discern. There are moments when old memories will echo like a distant drum. Fear will whisper like wind through the forest. Self-blame will strike a steady rhythm against your heart, and doubt will spread a thin mist across your vision. Yet my voice remains like a living stream, clear, strong, inviting without pressure, lifting without display. My sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me. John 10:27. And in that promise is a deep peace. The voice of heaven always clarifies direction without confusing the soul. When you anchor yourself in that current, the fog dissolves. The path becomes defined. Your will straightens, and your steps move forward without losing direction. My child, wisdom itself is the shield I place upon your shoulder to guard you from being pulled back into old cycles. Each time your spiritual sight grows clearer, darkness will adjust its strategy, releasing subtler waves designed to draw you back to familiar ground. But understand this: the awakening I give you does not confine you to a corner of constant vigilance. It elevates you to a strategic height where you can see both mountain peaks and valleys, both traps and safe passages. My voice does not push you into fear, it leads you into reality. When you hear the true source, confusion reverses itself, and what once felt overwhelming becomes the posture of one who has been granted access into the courts of light. Remember the story of Elijah, who fled to Mount Horeb, his heart torn and exhausted under threat. He longed for thunder, fire, and earthquake to confirm that God was still with him. But the voice of the Lord came instead in a gentle whisper, 1 Kings 19:12, and it was precisely that quiet breath that lifted him up again and sent him forward to anoint the next generation. My child, it is the same with you. There are times I will not speak in thunder to convince you, but in stillness to reveal whether your heart is quiet enough to recognize life itself, whispering. When you catch that delicate breath, power will rise without spectacle, and the unseen realm will tremble, not because of noise, but because you have entered a deeper frequency beyond surface sound. When I lift you higher, do not be surprised if those around you do not yet understand the perspective you now see. A bird's view from the mast is entirely different from the eyes of those standing on the deck. In the same way, revelation will allow you to pass through tangled drama that once held you captive. Your sensitivity is no longer a threat that drains you, but a radar tower that detects shifting winds so you can adjust your sails in time. When you perceive hidden motives within a seemingly attractive invitation, you will simply smile and step back one pace. When you notice the fracture of sorrow in a loved one's eyes, you will choose intercession instead of anger. When you discern the flash of conflict hidden within words of praise, you will quietly pivot away without creating noise. Discernment teaches you to love the right people, keep the right distance, choose the right battles, and walk the path of wisdom, not to harden your heart, but so that your love becomes sharp enough to cut the cords of deception. Look again at yourself in the mirror I have washed clean. You will see that you are not as weak as you once believed. Those subtle emotional tremors are no longer a curse, but the disguised tension of a powerful bow being drawn. Your compassion is no longer a fragile heel, but a royal seal placed upon your forehead. When you understand this, you will lift your head, your shoulders will open, and integrity will rise within you like the dawn. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you. Psalm 32:8. This word becomes a decree of light, laying out a clear path so your steps no longer hesitate at the crossroads. This is not a season for stagnation, nor a time to retreat into blurred uncertainty. I open your eyes so you may move. Open your ears so you may discern. And open your heart so you may receive the portion of the plan already written with your name. Every step you take becomes a stroke in the unfolding vision. Every decision aligned with my voice becomes a milestone set by heaven. Every time you refuse a glittering trap, angels rejoice because you have preserved your course. And every time you extend your hand with me to lift a soul out of a pit, darkness is forced to retreat another step. You are entering a season of receiving, not to store, but to release, not to hoard, but to sow, not for yourself alone, but for generations I will bring to you. So now, my child, rise up, tighten the garment of peace, attune your ears to the breath of heaven, and walk toward the destiny already written. All noise has only permission to whisper outside the fortress, within the sanctuary of your soul. My voice alone rings like a silver bell, soft, steady, unmistakable. Walk on with eyes like torches lighting the forest, a heart soft as soil awaiting seed, wisdom like sails catching divine wind, and steps swift like a deer on the mountain slope. And when evening falls behind you, you will look back and see a straight path of footprints, the path of one who heard rightly, saw rightly, and walked in the right season and in the cool wind of that moment. You will know you have lived fully within the meaning of revelation, moving in unending light until the eternal dawn breaks forth. My beloved child, when the dawn of revelation has parted the night that once surrounded your soul, I lift you beyond the old threshold and set you upon higher ground, where the winds of heaven move directly through your heart and the noise of public opinion echoes only, like something distant and fading. No longer are there hesitant steps, no longer eyes afraid to encounter truth. Now you stand upright, your shoulders aligned, breathing deeply the pure air of clarity, realizing the throne upon which I inscribed your name before the foundations of the earth were laid. As 1 Peter 2:9 reminds you, you belong to a royal priesthood, which means you are anointed to illuminate, not to hide. Therefore, do not allow any shadowed memory to imprison your steps. You have stepped out of the ranks of those who merely wait for miracles and entered the ranks of those who carry authority and release direction. On the day you rise, I give you ears sharpened like water cutting through stone, able to distinguish the sound of heaven from the noise of confusion. I also wrap your tongue in the fabric of truth, so that every word you speak carries both gentleness and precision, able to touch the deepest wounds without tearing what is still tender. My word always raises you. It never pulls you down. It always opens paths. It never creates labyrinths. When you hear my voice, your heart becomes steady. The clouds of doubt dissolve like morning mist in late winter, and your feet know their direction without wandering between emotional crossroads. Wisdom is not a garment of display. It is an instrument I have forged to break old patterns, the patterns that once made you react too quickly, love without order, and grow weary within cycles that drained your strength. To help you understand this new role, I tell you the story of Esther, a simple Jewish girl hidden within the Persian court, suddenly called into the position of queen. When the threat of destruction arose over her people, she hesitated at first, but then she realized that the throne she had been given was not for decoration or comfort, it was for deliverance. She stepped into the inner court, spoke the right words at the appointed time, and heaven confirmed her obedience by turning the entire situation upside down in unexpected victory. My child, you are the same. Revelation is not given to you as something to admire, but as a commission sealed with purpose. The high ground where I place you is not so you may look down upon others, but so you may see farther, guide more clearly, and extend your hand to lift those still lost within the mist of deception. I have touched your lips with living coal so that your words will not drift away from heaven's intent. As Jeremiah 9 declares, I have put my words in your mouth. That scripture now echoes within the marrow of your being, turning your speech into an underground stream that softens every dry and hardened place it reaches. When you speak, truth springs forth like a sword that removes the shell of deception while still leaving room for renewal. When you remain silent, your silence is not hesitation, but a strategic stillness that unsettles darkness itself. From now on, every breath you take carries the fragrance of alertness to every shadowed spirit of confusion. You are a properly placed torch, and your light compels darkness to yield. Do you remember what I said about authority over atmosphere? You do not merely change the air in a room, you shift spiritual dimensions. Wherever your steps land, spiritual ripples follow. When you take someone's hand in intercession, the unseen barriers around them begin to tremble. When you release a timely word of restoration, warmth returns to their heart like revived blood. Therefore, do not close your heart when you perceive fractures in those around you. Let your penetrating insight become healing oil, and let your sharp discernment become a shelter against the rain. For you are the light of the world, Matthew 5:14 is not a slogan. It is real-time assignment. The darkest places require the clearest light, and the most chaotic places require the most steady voice. And you are my answer placed into that void. Now I place into your hands a map not drawn with ink, but encoded in the rhythm of the Spirit. It does not show every turn in detail, but when your heart remains soft, the path will illuminate itself beneath your feet. I remove from your shoulders the padded garment shaped by human opinions and clothe you instead with a warrior's mantle woven from strands of dawn light. Each strand represents a moment you overcame confusion, a moment you chose forgiveness, a moment you trusted me above human understanding. The darkness once tried to shorten your vision, but its pressure has only refined your sight like coal, becoming diamond under weight. Hear this final seal I place upon you. Arise, shine, for your light has come. Isaiah 60:1. This is the trumpet call, awakening every dormant capacity within you. From this elevated place you will not be isolated. For heaven and earth converge where you stand. You will not be exhausted. For the river of grace flows continually through a heart that leans on me. When you speak, heavenly authority affirms it. When you step forward, darkness recedes. When you lift your hands in supplication, chains hear their own breaking. Do not wait for further confirmation. My beloved child, close your eyes for a moment and let your soul settle. Then open them again beneath the new radiance I place upon your forehead. For I want you to remember this deeply. True authority does not flow from achievements or years lived, but from wounds that were once open and now healed by my hand, like a rose blooming in dry stone. It is the nights you wept into your pillow that made your vision clearer than crystal. It is the weakness you thought would consume you that became the strength, holding you steady in storms. As 2 Coríntios 12:9 declares, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. I have turned every cry of yours into a note of strength. So rise, like one refined in the furnace, and receive the seal I have placed upon your lips, your eyes, and your steps. My child, do not be surprised if old memories rise like fading shadows at the end of a day. I use even these memories to deepen compassion within you, not to pull you back to what is past. For every night you wept in silence, I have recorded each tear as pearls within the vessel of sorrow, so that when the morning comes, those pearls will reflect new light and allow you to see life through a lens of purity without losing clarity or truth. You have kept count of my wanderings. Put my tears in your bottle. Psalm 56:8. This whisper reminds you that no tear has ever fallen in vain. Each one has carved a boundary line between illusion and what is real, between what is hollow and what is true. Those who once turned away from you did not leave behind a mark of failure, but rather an open space, an unfinished sentence where I have placed my power. That emptiness has become a window through which the wind of my spirit enters, igniting sparks that darkness once tried to extinguish. I have exchanged your garment of mourning for robes of glory, giving you the oil of joy instead of mourning. Isaiah 61:3. From now on, you walk lightly, yet firmly, for every step carries the fragrance of my kingdom. announcing to every realm that one who has endured in light has arrived not to escape, but to radiate. Do you remember Joseph, the dreamer cast into a pit, bound by iron chains, forgotten in a prison? Yet even his tears in captivity became the hidden code that opened the treasury of a nation. When Pharaoh called him forth, Joseph did not boast of his suffering or survival. He spoke instead of the vision given by the Most High, and the ring of authority was placed upon the hand of the one once sold away, as if history itself bowed before a heart refined by fire. Genesis 41 tells this story so that you may understand. Your broken path is also forming a throne. Your scars are becoming a map, and your garments of old limitation are being replaced with robes of stewardship over people, seasons, and destinies. Therefore, you do not need to wait for another radiant opportunity. The veil has already fallen. The stage is already set, and the torch in your hand has already been lit. Revelation is not merely instruction. It is a living fire, a fire that melts fear, burns down fortresses of deception, awakens those asleep, and warms the hearts of those who are broken. No one can extinguish the flame I have placed within you unless you turn away from it yourself, but I know you will not turn away. For your back already carries the imprint of the furnace that taught you the path back to light. Receive this calling, to be a lamp placed on a stand, as I have spoken in Matthew 5:15, so that entire generations may be illuminated through your life, and darkness loses its authority to define direction. This fire is also a sacred blade, separating mercy from mere people-pleasing, and separating correction from bitterness, so that you may be both firm like iron refined in heat and gentle like floating pollen carried by the wind. When you speak, I let your words be infused with oil, so that even when they are sharp, they do not tear apart, but instead open a wound just enough for healing to be poured in. When you remain silent, your silence becomes a protective embankment, causing schemes to rebound upon those who devised them. Each time you intercede in prayer, I raise the lighthouse within your spirit one level higher, so its beam expands further, locating souls hidden behind layers of brokenness, calling them out of scorched wilderness into streams of restoration. Do not let the calendar deceive you into thinking there is still time. The hour has come for you to wake from sleep. Romans 13:11. You are standing in the exact moment of transition. The pressing of sorrow has ceased. New wine is beginning to ferment, and your shoulders now carry the flowing aroma of truth. Step into the part of life I have long prepared for you from the earliest dawn. Become a flame that signals the shore of freedom, a warmth that dissolves the frost of judgment, and a gentle yet piercing voice that awakens those walking in sleep. When you stand, the spiritual atmosphere tightens like a drawn string. When you speak, the heavenly host aligns. When you simply take the hand of the broken, my heartbeat itself echoes like a war drum across the unseen realm. My child, receive fully the treasure refined in ashes, for those ashes have become the fertilizer of what is now called authority. Within your very eyes is now embedded a key that unlocks doors of deliverance for the lost. Within every line of your expression is already mapped the way home for the weary. This authority is not a crown for display, but a saddle to carry you safely through dark valleys. It is bread and fish to be multiplied in the desert of opinion. It is a pillar of fire guiding the disappointed through night without losing direction. I have waited for this moment, and now even you can hear the trumpet rising within your chest, a sound declaring that the season of retreat has ended. The season of repositioning is complete, and the season of exercising kingdom authority and light has begun. Therefore, rise up and wrap yourself in the mantle woven from the history of wounds that have already been healed. Do not hide the torch beneath your cloak, but lift it high so that the wind may carry its sparks far beyond you, so that each spark may land upon a weary home and ignite hope where exhaustion once ruled. When the day comes to a close, you will see that you have not merely survived trials, but transformed them into a passport, into a realm that cannot be purchased, the realm of those who live sustained by light. And I will look upon you with joy, as one watches a volcanic fire burn freely in the night sky, knowing that such a flame will never grow cold. My child, breathe deeply and feel the breath of heaven rising within your chest. For no veil now stands between your heart and the glory I release over you. What I place within you is not the fragile confidence of human ambition, but a steadfast assurance born of truth itself. Heaven and earth now stand in agreement over every step you take. When you move, even the ground beneath you bears witness to peace. When you speak, the heavens quietly affirm your words. As it is written in Romans 8:31, if God is for us, who can be against us? A sentence sharp as a sword that severs the chains of doubt that have long clung to your imagination. From this moment forward, you do not walk as one uncertain of your footing, but as a warrior tested in fire, knowing that the strength upon you is not forged by human hands, but refined in the furnace of grace. Let me remind you of Peter stepping out of the boat into the stormy waters of the Sea of Galilee. He walked upon the waves because he heard a simple call, "Come," spoken by the one who stood above the storm. As long as his eyes remained fixed on me, the water beneath him became solid ground. But when the wind reminded him of his limitations, fear began to pull him down. Yet Christ reached out and lifted him, asking, "Why did you doubt?" Matthew 14:29-31. I tell you this so you may understand. The strength you carry does not arise from external calm, but from a gaze anchored in me, even when the winds strike your face. If your eyes remain fixed upon me, the very waters beneath you will obey and become a path toward your purpose. My beloved, I have cleansed the mirror of your heart, removing every shadow of inadequacy and anointing its surface with the oil of joy. From now on, you no longer carry the burden of proving your worth. That worth stands firm like Mount Zion, unmoved by shifting human opinion. You no longer need to wear false humility to gain acceptance. I clothe you instead with a mantle woven from peace itself. When you enter a room, the atmosphere of anxiety will recede, for the fragrance of this peace flows naturally from you like the scent of fields after rain. It is not produced by effort, but by my presence within you, as I am the early and latter rain, watering your soul with truth. Remember Psalm 23:5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. When I set the table, you do not struggle for a seat. It is already prepared, and the oil upon your head will continue to flow until your cup overflows, to refresh those around you who are still thirsty. My child no longer lives under the shadow of a fear of failure waiting to strike. Failure may touch a plan, but it cannot penetrate identity. Even if your vessel tilts, the mast of vision remains upright, for it is anchored into the bedrock of revelation. I have opened your eyes to see the path while the ground is still covered in mist. And I have opened your heart to maintain the rhythm of peace when the sun grows intense. Do not withdraw merely to preserve a superficial harmony. True peace is not quick compromise, but alignment with the heartbeat of mine. When you say no in order to protect heaven's course, that refusal will ring like a church bell, reminding other souls that boundaries are a blessing, not a wound. When you say yes in response to my prompting, that agreement will be like seed falling into soil, carrying the promise of a season that will come at its appointed time. Now let inner confidence spread within you like fire moving through an oil-lined tube, burning away the habit of timid permission-seeking. You are allowed to shape the future without trembling before charts of risk. For I stand at the end of your path, holding the banner of completion. You are allowed to dream beyond traditional frames, For I do not confine color to a narrow strip of expectation. You are allowed to decide with firmness. For the stream of revelation within you does not run dry when you draw from it. Wherever doubt tries to extinguish the spark of your creativity, remember this: the fire I placed in you is not a fragile lamp that dies in wind. It is coal sealed within the furnace, growing hotter when pressure rises and holding warmth even beneath ash. Stand upright, for the forces of darkness know your name. They once whispered, "Wait a little longer," to delay the unfolding of your calling. But now I break the old clock and sound the bell of now. The portion of grace assigned for this very day is being poured into your cup, and you will not let the waves overturn it. When you walk, walk as one who governs time, because you know the Eternal One holds its axis. When you speak, speak as one who carries the key to stored provision. Every word rebuilding fractured hope. When you see through eyes washed free of fear, so that no stain of judgment can cling to the vision I have refined. From this moment, memory no longer functions as a chain, but as a library of fragrance you will discern by its scent, not be bound by its weight. I inscribe into your very bones this final promise: I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Matthew 28:20. This is no longer a verse to hold beside you. It becomes the very rhythm of your breathing. As your lungs draw breath, the warmth of my spirit enters and transforms oxygen into fire. As your heart pumps blood, my power flows through it, carrying light into every extremity of your being. So go forth now, head lifted beneath an open heaven, feet stepping onto ground that has been waiting for the trace of pioneers. And wherever you step, that place will recognize that dawn has touched it, not by human strength, but because the King of Light has chosen you to become the first ray of the new morning. My beloved child, step into every ordinary setting of life: family meals, workplace meetings, coffee conversations with friends, as one who carries the atmosphere of heaven, still warm with the breath of early dawn, so that even your laughter carries the fragrance of the knowledge of Christ rising to God. 2 Corinthians 2:15. Causing weary souls to inhale deeply without even knowing why. Their burden feels lighter. You stand firm, not because of a hardened will, but because you have released the burden of constantly pleasing the emotions of others. You are no longer tossed around by narratives that do not belong to your calling. For I have whispered deep within your very being that you are summoned to a higher place, where every decision echoes the heartbeat of the kingdom. From the moment your heart allowed me to heal it, love no longer flows as a tear trying to become honey, but as a clear river released from a purified spring, freed from the sediment of bitterness. Service no longer arises from inner lack or guilt, but from royal freedom. And your life, instead of mirroring the blurred reflections of others, now carries a distinct imprint like a seal placed upon a generation thirsting for living light. Now I draw you into something deeper still, where revelation is no longer a sudden flash that fades like summer lightning, but becomes a continual breath. When you enter a room, you do not need to strive to display light. The light within you will naturally seek every crack like dawn stretching across mountain peaks. When you grow still, even a single breath I release is enough to move the spiritual atmosphere around you. For your silence has become a hall waiting for my voice. You may think you are quiet, but in truth, you are listening to frequencies beyond natural hearing. You may think you are standing still, but in reality, you are releasing the fragrance of my presence in every direction. As you remain in me, and I remain in you. John 15:4. This truth is already engraved within you, like a lily that only needs the sun to bloom. You only need nearness to me for revelation to unfold within you, without strain, without confusion. But as light passing gently through an open window at dawn, I show you a pattern from the night in the Philippian prison. where Paul and Silas, though bound in chains, still sang praises. Their song was not an effort to prove faith, but a natural overflow, like a spring forced through rock that only becomes more powerful under pressure. When that praise struck the foundation of the prison at midnight, heaven responded. An earthquake shook the cell. Doors broke open. Chains fell away. And the jailer encountered the light of salvation. Acts 16:25-34. Do you see it? My child, the atmosphere of heaven does not wait for circumstances to become free. It is released from within a soul already united with me, and it shakes the structure of darkness around it. So when you sit at a tense family table, let the silent song within you rise. Tension will loosen. When you stand under pressure at work, let your heartbeat align with mine. Heaviness will crack. It is your being in me, not your striving in the spiritual, that makes you a point of eruption for peace in this world. Remember this, my child. You do not appear in any place to prove your worth or to request a seat. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Psalm 23:5. And that seat already bears your name before the first candle was ever lit. Therefore, you enter every room without shrinking to maintain false peace, and without inflating yourself to compete for attention. You carry peace like a king carrying a royal decree. No one can seize it, yet all may come under its benefit. You make decisions not from the fear of what if I am wrong, but from the vision I have already opened before you. If waves rise over the deck of your plans, remember, I stand beside your hands on the helm, adjusting the wind. If those beside you begin to falter, the peace within you will become a stone-like foundation for them to lean upon in the storm. And when you love from the place where you have already been healed, that love is not entangled with fear of abandonment. So it stands upright like a pillar of light, never bending into desperation for acceptance. When you serve from the place of freedom already given. Those hands no longer keep score, and therefore do not grow bitter when gratitude is absent. When you live from the position of authority already entrusted to you. Your steps do not circle in confusion, searching for direction. For your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119, 105. A truth I speak once, yet its light reaches every direction. No force can close what I have written into your destiny, and your life itself becomes a living testimony when the eyes are opened. The path also opens. Finally, know this: whether you are sitting quietly in a corner or speaking in the midst of a crowd, my kingdom still moves in rhythm with your breath. A flower does not hear itself bloom, yet the whole garden perceives its fragrance. So it is with you. You do not need noise for others to know you carry light. Simply remain near me, and revelation will unfold like the sun rising without announcement. And I, the one who sees in secret, promise to keep the oil of your lamp steady within you, so that whenever darkness tries to settle upon a generation, the radiance from your eyes will remind heaven and earth that there is still a child of grace standing, not striving, but simply abiding close to the Father. My beloved child, let me lead you deeper into the inner realm of light, where my illumination reaches every hidden corner you once closed off in fear of old wounds. As your spiritual sight expands, you will notice lingering traces of pain, subtle comparisons, unnamed anxieties, and thought patterns that cling like morning mist. But I do not reveal these to shame you. I reveal them to anoint and restore what is still unhealed within you. From the moment you see yourself in my light, every old measurement shaped by trauma begins to fall away, replaced by the vision of what I planted within you from the beginning. For the light of the Lord searches the human heart, and that light always carries healing within it. I know there are nights when your eyes grow heavy with tears, not from outward battles alone, but because you see too deeply into the hearts of others. You wonder why your perception is so sharp, why even a slight change in tone or expression reveals hidden motives. You once thought this was a burden, but it is in fact a gift of protection. I placed within your perception a transparent shield so that you may discern and avoid harm, not so that you would be worn down by what you perceive. When you grow weary from seeing too much, remember this: I never gave you sight for you to carry alone. I gave it so that you would lean even more fully on me. When you are sad, I hold you. When you do not understand, I clarify. When you feel alone in the vast ocean of perception, I become your harbor. And in that closeness, every breath of revelation begins to regulate your inner rhythm, until seeing becomes as natural as the lungs receiving air. My child, remember the night of mystery by the Jabbok River, where Jacob wrestled alone with the divine until the breaking of dawn. In that moment of strained sinews and trembling strength, the man who once relied on cunning to secure his way was brought face to face with himself. And as the morning tore open the night, he received a new name, Israel, along with a limp that remained as a reminder that a divine touch can weaken the flesh but strengthen identity. Genesis 32:24-30. I tell you this so you may understand. Revelation does not only turn outward to expose what is around you, it also turns inward to confront what you have avoided. It transforms the name, the one who holds on to pain, into the one who prevails with God. Therefore, when you notice traces of pride or flickers of fear still lingering within you, do not run from them. Let me touch you there. And even what remains of your limp will become a mark of authority, the authority of one who has been touched by me and no longer seeks validation. But walk steadily, even slowly, in secure grace. My child, I know that your inner sensitivity sometimes turns every room into a sea of overwhelming waves, but do not let those currents overturn you. Let me be the rock upon which you rest your head. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. This is not an echo from the distant past, but my present heartbeat whenever you grow heavy. Stand still, breathe deeply, and allow me to draw the tension from your chest into the flow of my peace. When revelation comes, see it as a living dialogue. I reveal. You entrust. I open depth. You draw near. I uncover more. You lean further into me. This cycle keeps you balanced between sharp discernment and a tender heart. Revelation is never designed to isolate you from others or push you into loneliness. It is meant to weave a chain of communion, first with me, then with people, and the tighter that connection becomes, the lighter you will feel. Therefore, when you return to your family, enter your workplace, or sit among friends, do not fear that your eyes will exhaust you. The light within you will spread like morning sun, not harsh or blinding, but gentle enough to melt frost. Love from the place that has been healed, serve from the place that has been freed, listen from the place where silence has learned to speak, and speak from the place that has been steeped in truth. You are not a faint copy of anyone else. You are my signature upon a generation. A seal that declares that when I illuminate the inner life of a person, I also open a highway toward a destiny no force can obstruct. And when night comes again and you feel the weight return, remember that I am still there, ready to become a great sheltering tree for you to lean against, until the birds of dawn themselves replace my voice with their song, reminding you that you have been seen, you have been touched, and therefore you have been formed to carry light without a single trembling drop of fear upon your vision. My beloved child, listen as I whisper in the quiet before dawn, for I want you to sense the path I have already marked within your spirit, not merely recognize the shadows along its edge. As your spiritual sight awakens, You no longer wander through intersections shaped by fleeting emotion. You begin to see clearly which paths are radiant yet hollow, and which doors are beautifully painted yet conceal subtle traps. I have often placed my hand upon your shoulder to gently pull you back from turns that were not yet aligned with your season, closing gates behind which lay entangling thorns, disguised as invitation, and allowing you to hear the sound of their shutting, so you would know that my restraint is also my release. As Isaiah 30:21 declares, whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." The more clearly you see, the more free you become. For the light I give does not restrict your path. It removes the unnecessary detours that drain your destiny. However, this light does not turn your heart into stone. I show you distorted motives so that you may withdraw your feet from hidden nets. Yet I pour the oil of compassion upon your heart so that when you expose deception, you do not fall into suspicion, and when you see the wounds of others clearly, your gaze does not become a blade, but a warm compress that brings healing. You will love from a place where you are no longer deceived, serve from a place where you are no longer bound, and live from a place that has already received the seal of royal authority. For as my heart is a fountain of truth and mercy, every light that flows through you will carry warmth that restores, not heat that condemns like a river that remains cool, even as it flows under the noon sun. Remember the story of Paul's vision of the Macedonian man in the night. The invitation was simple. Come over to Macedonia and help us. It seemed like a small turning point, yet that one journey across the sea opened the door for the gospel into Europe. Acts 16:9-10. Had Paul measured that call only through emotion or familiarity, he might have stayed in what was comfortable. But he heard and discerned the season, and so a seemingly faint voice redirected the course of history. You are the same. Each time I shine a light within you, it is not only to help you distinguish right from wrong, but to reveal whether it is a call leading you into my garden or a path that returns you to what is old and limited. When you obey, history shifts not only for you, but for the souls connected to your assignment. I also see the nights when you place your hand upon your chest, weary not from battles of strength, but from reading too many hidden lines within the eyes of others. You wonder why you are so sensitive, and at times you call it a burden. But my child, this is the transparent armor I have given you to protect your steps. That sensitivity becomes heavy only when you carry it alone, when you entrust it to me. It becomes a compass. Whenever you grow tired, lay it upon me, I do not grow weary. Whenever you are confused, ask, I do not delay in response. Whenever you feel overwhelmed by seeing too deeply, hide in me, I will cover you. And I promise to guard your heart from bitterness and your eyes from the fog of suspicion. For revelation is never meant to produce harshness, but wisdom blended with gentleness. As Proverbs declares, wisdom is a fountain of life to the one who has it. Proverbs 16:22. So step forward now with the calm posture of one who understands, the steadiness of one who knows, and the gentleness of one who has been healed. Do not wait for another sign, and do not hesitate as if the night were still long. Today, the sun has already risen within your spirit. When you enter a room, the atmosphere shifts, not because of effort, but because the truth within you causes even stone walls to loosen their coldness. When you are silent, I am speaking. When you speak, I am affirming. When you stand, even heavenly hosts bow in recognition. You will no longer seek approval from others, for the light you carry is already a signed covenant I have placed within you. You will not wait for a better day, for you already carry goodness itself. You will no longer strive to prove your worth, for that worth has already become a declaration written into your very being. This child is ready. And I, the one who once bent down and breathed life into the dust at the beginning of creation, whisper this over you again today. Smile gently, hold firmly to the sword of peace, and step into the new chapter of your life as one who knows this. Eyes that have once touched truth will never willingly pretend blindness again. A heart washed in grace will never fully harden again, and a soul that has heard my voice will never be easily scattered by noise. The more clearly you see, the freer you become, the closer you abide. The lighter you grow, the more rightly you love. The wider your heart expands. I go before you. I walk with you, and I stand behind you. The sky I have stretched over your life will not go dim until your appointed destiny shines so brightly that even angels rejoice, saying, Behold, the light has ignited in the hand of the chosen, and the night has given way. Thank you for listening to this message. Know this, you are not merely an audience. You are chosen to live daily in the presence of the Word of God. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you will not miss any spiritual message. Amen. My beloved child, incline your heart deeper than all the noise of this world. For what I am about to speak does not belong to the surface layer of thought, but to the depth where your soul is being awakened day by day without you fully realizing it. There are movements in the unseen realm that produce no sound, yet they shake the entire inner order of a human being. You have already felt them not with your eyes, not with your reasoning, but through an unexplainable inner vibration, sometimes an irregular heartbeat, sometimes a sudden silence between familiar thoughts, sometimes an intuition so strong it compels you to stop. I tell you this, it is not coincidence, nor a passing emotion, but the first sign of a season that is opening within the spiritual realm. And I want you to know this, when I open a new season over a person's life, I do not begin with the noise of thunder, but with a quiet light that gently enters within. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it, John 1:5. That light does not come to overwhelm you from the outside, but to awaken you from within, so that you may realize something is being rewritten in your destiny. It is not the external world that changes first, but your inner being that is awakened before anything around you begins to shift. My beloved, there are those who only recognize a new season when it arrives like a storm, but there are also those whom I awaken beforehand, so they are not swept away, but stand firm in understanding. You belong to the latter. Therefore, I allow you to sense these very small yet very real signals, a holy restlessness, an unusual sensitivity in your spirit, as though you are perceiving the footsteps of angels passing through the sky of your life. This is not to make you afraid, but to prepare you for what I am arranging. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for peace and not for harm. Jeremiah 29:11. Remember the story of Elisha's servant. When the army surrounded the city, the servant was terrified because he saw only the enemy. But Elisha prayed, O Lord, open his eyes that he may see. 2 Kings 6:17. And immediately his spiritual eyes were opened, and he saw the mountain filled with horses and chariots of fire surrounding them. Do you see? True reality has never been limited to what the natural eyes perceive. There is a deeper layer operating even now around your life. And I am opening your eyes little by little so that you no longer live merely by reaction, but by discernment. What you have thought was delay is actually alignment. What you have thought was silence is preparation. And what you have felt as unease is in truth my whisper awakening you from spiritual sleep. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. Matthew 24:42. Yet I do not speak this to make you anxious, but to keep you steady in peace, like one who knows the season is changing but does not panic, because they trust that the one who governs all seasons holds everything in his hand. You are in a process that I call the unveiling. It is not that I am hiding truth from you, but rather I am gradually revealing layers that you were not yet ready to perceive. And within this process, you will come to understand something profound. I am not only changing your circumstances, I am changing the way you see your own life. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. For when your mind is renewed, you will no longer be governed by what the eyes see, but by the guidance of an inner light. There will be moments when you wonder why you have become more sensitive, why you are no longer as indifferent as before, why your heart is easily stirred by things others overlook. This is not weakness, but a sign that your soul is being refined into greater spiritual sensitivity, like an instrument being carefully tuned before a symphony begins. You are being adjusted so that you will not fall out of rhythm. In the new season, I am bringing forth. Remember the story of the disciples on the road to Emmaus. They walked beside the risen one without recognizing him, until their eyes were opened in the breaking of bread, Luke 24-31. In the same way, I have been walking with you through days that seemed ordinary, but there will come a moment when you realize that no moment was ever ordinary, because I have been present in every step you have taken, even when you did not recognize me. Therefore, do not be afraid of the unusual stirrings within your heart. Do not try to suppress the deep sensitivities that are emerging. I am not making you confused, I am making you awake. I am not making you anxious, I am leading you into discernment. And when the new season fully unfolds, you will look back and understand that everything you are sensing today was a forewarning of tomorrow's grace. My beloved child, I am not only calling you into a new season, I am renewing you so that you may enter it without losing your way. And as you stand firm in this light, you will understand that I have never left you, never been silent, and never allowed you to walk through darkness alone. For I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Matthew 28-20. My beloved, allow me to lead you deeper into what is happening within your soul. For often you only perceive the surface of change, while not yet recognizing the careful work of my hand purifying you within the depths. When my light touches the deepest layers, it does not only illuminate, it dissolves the old structures that once held you in a version of yourself no longer aligned with what I have ordained. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. 2 Corinthians 5:10. This newness is not an external covering, but a rebirth of inner identity, where what once anchored you to darkness begins to release itself without force. You will come to recognize something clearly. What once felt familiar will no longer carry the same attraction. This is not because you are becoming cold, but because your spirit is being lifted into a different level of perception. Empty conversations, shallow connections, habits that no longer carry life, all of these will gradually loosen like threads that have decayed with time. And I tell you this, it is not loss, but the sign of return. For as you return to the original design I placed within you from the beginning, anything that does not belong to your true essence will naturally fall away, like autumn leaves, releasing themselves when their season is complete. For everything there is a season, Ecclesiastes 3:1. And that season is not determined by chance, but by my order. There may be moments when you feel as though you are entering a strange silence. The familiar noise of old emotions is gone. The inner agitation that once filled your emptiness is no longer there. And in that stillness, you may think you are alone. But I say to you, you are not abandoned. You are being led into the deepest place of healing. Just as Elijah was led into the cave and discovered that I was not in the wind, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in the gentle whisper, 1 Kings 19:12. So I am bringing you into a space where my presence becomes so refined that only a soul made still can recognize it. My beloved child, understand that this is the spiritual operating room that I am opening within your life. It is not to harm you, but to remove fragments of memory that have become sharp thorns within you, which you cannot remove by yourself. I am gently dismantling the layers of defense you once built in moments when you had to protect yourself. I am touching the places you once concealed out of fear, out of woundedness, out of not believing that you could be fully healed. And I am cleansing the deepest corners you have long forgotten, not to expose you to shame, but to restore you to your original purity, as in the story of the woman who had suffered from bleeding for 12 years. She only needed to touch the edge of my garment, and she was immediately healed. Mark 5:25-34. Do you see? True healing is not always loud, but occurs in the moment of deep contact between faith and presence. And I am touching you in that same way, not loudly, but thoroughly, not hastily, but with certainty. The stillness you are experiencing is not emptiness, but the very space where I am working most powerfully. In a noisy world, it is difficult for you to hear me, but in silence, every subtle movement of my spirit becomes clear. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. This is not merely a call to external quietness, but an invitation into an inward state of deep awareness, where all disturbance is removed, so that you may see me more clearly. You may not yet fully understand, but I am doing something very important. I am restoring discernment within you. The old noise that once confused you between right and wrong, between what is true and false, between what belongs to me and what does not, is gradually being removed. And as your soul becomes more sensitive, you will no longer be easily drawn by surface-level things. You will begin to recognize what is true life, what is subtle deception, what is from me, and what is only an echo of emotion. As Paul wrote, we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. 2 Corinthians 4:18. You are being trained to live from that depth where sight is no longer limited to the natural eye, but guided by inner light. My beloved child, I am not taking away anything that truly belongs to you. I am only removing what no longer serves your life. And in this process, you may feel a brief emptiness, but it is only the stillness before new life rises. Just as a seed must die within the soil before it can sprout, you too are in a stage of transformation to become the fully alive version I ordained from the beginning. And in the midst of all these changes, I want you to remember this: your original self has not been lost, it is only emerging, like a young shoot breaking through the earth to reach the light. Your true soul is rising through the layers of what once covered it. And as you walk in this new state, you will realize that I have never left you, never abandoned you in this process, but have been there in every silence, every falling, and every rebirth. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. And I myself am doing this in you, layer by layer, day by day, until you are fully restored to the wholeness I designed for you from the very beginning. My beloved child, allow me to lead you deeper into what is unfolding within your soul. For the season you are entering is not an ordinary phase of perception, but a restructuring of your spiritual sight where I do not narrow you, but expand your capacity to see far beyond former limitations. I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened. Ephesians 1:18. That light does not come to make you suspicious, but to enable you to see more clearly, more deeply, and more truly the world in which I have placed you. You will begin to notice that you no longer perceive life merely through surface reactions. There are things others do not speak, yet you will sense them. There are hidden motives behind words. and you will recognize them without needing analysis. There are spaces you enter, and within the first few breaths, your spirit already discerns where you are standing. This is not the sensitivity of unstable emotions, but a spiritual awakening stirred by me. Just as Elisha's servant had his eyes open to see the angelic armies surrounding them, 2 Kings 6:17. So your eyes are being opened to perceive deeper layers that were previously hidden from you. But I want you to understand this clearly. This is not given so that you may judge the world, but so that you may discern your own path. When I unveil, you do not become distant, you become clearer. You do not lose love, but you are no longer deceived by what is false or merely outwardly appealing. You begin to recognize what true peace is, peace that comes from me, and what is only a surface, calm, masking inner disorder. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. John 14:27. And this ability to discern is the mark of those awakened in the season I am opening. My beloved, I call this season the season of unveiling. Not because you are losing sight, but because you are being brought into deeper vision. The veils that once covered your perception are being lifted layer by layer. And when this happens, you will understand why I did not allow you to see everything earlier. For there are truths that, if revealed too soon, would have misaligned your steps, but when revealed at the appointed time, they become guiding light. Remember the story of Daniel in the lion's den. It was not because he was stronger than the lions, but because he was held within a space covered by my power, Daniel 6:22. In the same way, you are not being exposed to be harmed, but placed within the protection of light so that you may see without being consumed by what you see. And I want to emphasize something important to you. The ability you are receiving is not the result of effort, but the imprint of being marked by me. You also were sealed with the Holy Spirit, Ephesians 1:13. You did not generate this sensitivity on your own. It has been awakened by me. Therefore, you do not need to fear becoming different. This difference is not separation from the world, but a return to the spiritual order I originally placed within you. My child, I want to speak to you something deeper. Your original self is not the most perfect version by human standards, but the purest version in my sight. It is you before fear bent your direction. You before comparison blurred the light within you. You before the words of others overlaid the voice I placed in your heart. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, Jeremiah 1:5. And this means your original identity is not something you must create, but something I have already established. Like a shepherd searching for a lost sheep, Luke 15:4. I am bringing you back to the very nature you once belonged to, not by erasing what you have lived through, but by purifying how you understand yourself. The layers of dust from experience do not erase identity, they only obscure it. And in this season, I am breathing over your life like wind passing through a field, causing what does not belong to you to fall away, so that what truly belongs to you may be revealed. You may begin to feel a shift in how you view your past. What once wounded you no longer defines you. What once caused self-doubt no longer governs you. This is not forgetfulness, but liberation. If the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed, John 8:36. And that freedom is not a passing feeling, but a new structure of your inner life itself. I am bringing you back to the place where your original self was formed, not within memory, but within spiritual reconstruction. There, you will realize that you were never a mistake, never a missing fragment, never someone standing on the margins of your own story. You have always belonged at the center of my design, even when you did not recognize it. My beloved, I do not look at you as one who is trying to regain value. I look at you as one who is being restored to what has always belonged to you. And as you stand in this light, you will understand that I have never seen you through your fractures, but through the imprint I placed upon your soul from the beginning. Stand firm, then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. Galatians 5:1. And within that firmness, you will step into your true identity, not an identity built by circumstances, but one engraved by me, the one who called you with unchanging love. My beloved child, allow me to embrace the entirety of the memories that weigh upon your heart, for I know there are things you have carried for so long that you began to believe they were your nature. But I speak to you now, nothing within those wounds has the authority to define you. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. 2 Corinthians 5:17. That newness is not invalidated by the scars of the past, nor erased by your moments of weakness. For my grace is not limited by human condition, but anchored in my own faithfulness. You once bowed very low, not because I had abandoned you, but because you trusted the voice of accusation more than the voice of truth. The words of judgment, the memories of failure, the moments you fell short of expectation, all of these formed a layer of dust over what I had placed within you from the beginning. But I say to you now, beneath that dust, the glory remains intact. The Lord upholds all who fall. Psalm 145:14. And I am not only lifting you up, I am restoring what you thought you had lost. Listen to me from the depth of your soul, not through the defenses of your emotions. I do not see you through your mistakes, nor define you by your failures. I see you through the covenant I have established with you, and that covenant is not broken by weakness, for it is sealed with eternal love. I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Isaiah 49:16. You are not forgotten, not replaced, and never excluded as you once believed in your darkest hours. My beloved, I see clearly the voices that have clung to your mind like long shadows. There has been a voice whispering that you are not good enough, not strong enough, not worthy to return to where I have called you. And whenever you remember your mistakes, that voice rises as though it has authority over your identity. But I am entering the deepest place within your soul not to argue with it, but to remove its authority entirely. If our hearts condemn us, God is greater than our hearts. 1 John 3:20. I do not raise my voice against you, but I speak with the authority of the one who formed you. You belong to me. When that word touches your soul, it is not merely comfort, it is the reestablishment of inner order. Every accusation will lose its place. Every condemning memory will lose its control. And every fear that you cannot return will dissolve like mist before the morning light. Remember the story of the prodigal son, Luke 15:20-24. When he returned in brokenness and self-reproach, the father did not stand at a distance to evaluate him, but ran toward him and embraced him, not because he met human standards of worth, but because the father's love was greater than the entirety of his past. And I tell you this, that image is what I am doing with you right now. You do not stand before me as one rejected seeking acceptance. You stand before me as a son being restored to a position that has always belonged to you, to give them a crown of beauty instead of ashes. Isaiah 61:3. This means what you thought was lost was only covered, not erased. The crown has never left you. You only forgot that you were wearing it. I am touching you not to fix something broken, but to awaken what has been asleep. When I touch your forehead, it is the seal of reestablished identity. As Joshua was clothed again in clean garments after being accused, Zechariah 3-4, so I am removing from you what does not belong to your true nature, and clothing you again in the righteousness I have given. My beloved child, I know you once believed that you had to become perfect in order to return to me, but I have never placed you under such a condition. I do not call you because you are perfect. I call you because you belong to me. But God demonstrates His own love for us in this. while we were still sinners. Christ died for us, Romans 5-8. And this means my love has always preceded your transformation. It has never depended on it. I am replacing the voice within you, not through force, but through truth that sinks in like light permeating darkness. When you listen inwardly, you will no longer hear the old voice of accusation. Instead, you will begin to hear something new, the voice of heaven's affirmation. It is not loud, yet it is powerful, not pressuring, yet deeply liberating, and it will whisper into the deepest place within you. You are my child, and I have not changed my mind about you. And as that truth takes root in you, you will find that every burden of self-condemnation begins to fall, not because you are striving to let it go, but because it no longer has any foundation to stand on. You will breathe freely again, not as one being forgiven repeatedly, but as one who realizes you were never removed from my embrace. Come near to God and he will come near to you, James 4-8. And I am drawing near to you now, not to judge you, but to restore you, not to remind you of your failures, but to reestablish your identity, not to keep you bound to the past, but to bring you back to where you have never truly been lost, in my eternal love. My beloved child, allow me to lead you into the depth of what is being opened. For there are seasons that do not merely alter external circumstances, but restructure the very way you function within the spiritual realm. The doors you have knocked on for many years did not remain closed because I rejected you, nor because you were abandoned, but because I was maintaining the order of timing. To everything there is a season, Ecclesiastes 3:1. And timing is always where I protect you from what you are not yet ready to carry. My beloved, I have never allowed the key to leave your hand because it does not belong to you, but because I am preserving you from opening doors while your soul still carries unhealed fractures. There are doors that, if opened at the wrong time, do not liberate you, but draw you back into old cycles of fear and reaction. But now I speak to you. The appointed time has matured. When the time is right, I, the Lord, will do it. Isaiah 60:22. This means no longer a protective delay, but an authorized unfolding. I am placing 3 keys into your hand, the key of discernment, so you may distinguish what is mine from what is merely an appearance, the key of peace. So you will no longer walk in instability but from inward steadiness, and the key of clear vision, so you may see not only the present, but also the direction I have ordained for you. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go, Psalm 32:8. And when you hold these keys, you will understand they are not rewards for perfection, but commissions for maturity. You are not opening doors to prove your worthiness. You are opening because I am leading you into what has already been prepared. You are not acting from lack, but from confirmation. You are not moving out of panic to seize opportunity, but from authority placed upon your life. And when you move in this way, you will discover something profound. The right doors do not need to be forced open. They align themselves with your presence. My beloved, do not fear the silence you are walking through. There are silences that are not emptiness, but sacred spaces where I perform my deepest work of healing. Be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46:10. In that stillness, I am placing my hand upon areas of memory you cannot reach yourself. I am rearranging the way you see your own identity. I am dismantling the old voices that once shaped your understanding of worth. There is something you must understand clearly. Stillness does not weaken you, it sharpens you. In noise, you react. In stillness, you discern. And within that space, I am teaching you to hear my voice without confusion from the voices of the world. My sheep hear my voice, John 10:27. As you begin to recognize my voice more clearly, You will no longer be led by external noise, but by inward certainty. Remember the story of Elijah on Mount Horeb. He did not recognize me in the great wind, the earthquake, or the fire, but in the still, small whisper. 1 Kings 19:12. In the same way, I am teaching you that my true presence is not always loud, yet it is deep enough to transform your entire perception of life. And when you step out of this stillness, you will not emerge as one who is simply rested, but as one who has been reshaped. My beloved, I do not heal you merely so that you remain in a state of restoration. I am sending you forth, as the Father has sent me. I am sending you, John 20:21. You carry within you the mark of one who is sent not to impose, but to bring light into the places I assign you. You carry my peace, not to keep it for yourself, but to release it. You carry vision not to observe from a distance, but to walk in it. I did not choose you because you are strong by human standards, but because I have affirmed you in the process I am leading. And when you stand in your rightful position, you will see this. Darkness does not resist you with strength, but withdraws in response to the presence you carry. The light shines in the darkness, John 1-5. And that light is not something you strive to produce, but something I have placed within you. When you speak from the right position, your words will carry weight. When you move from the right position, destiny will unfold, not because you force it, but because you are flowing within my direction. When you are present where I have appointed you, the environment around you will shift, not through effort, but through alignment with my will. My beloved, I want you to hear this as a seal upon your soul. You are no longer one standing outside looking in at what I am doing. You are within the process I am unfolding. And from this point forward, heaven does not see you as one searching for position, but as one entering into the position that was established for you before the foundation of the world. Stand firm, then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. Galatians 5:1. And in that standing firm, you will realize that the doors once closed were not signs of rejection, but my protection, until you are mature enough to enter without losing yourself. My beloved child, stand still in this moment, long enough for your soul to recognize what is truly happening within you. This is no longer a process of searching, nor a journey of wandering through uncertainty, but a moment of spiritual realignment where you are being placed into your rightful position. Stand firm, then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. Galatians 5:1. This freedom is not only deliverance from old chains, but the ability to stand where I have ordained you without being pulled back by voices that once caused you to doubt yourself. You have passed through a season of breaking not to be defined by the fragments that fell, but so that I might reconstruct your inner foundation. What once appeared as collapse was, in truth, a necessary separation so that what does not belong to your true nature could be removed. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted, Psalm 34-18. And within that breaking, I did not leave you. I entered more deeply, to rebuild you from within, according to the image I initiated in you. Now I declare to you, you are no longer one who is seeking answers. You are becoming one who carries answers, not because you have understood everything, but because you are standing within the understanding that comes from me. You no longer walk as one who must seek validation from the world, but as one who has been called by name. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1:5. And this is not a distant promise, it is a present reality already active within you. My beloved, I am not bringing you into this season of unveiling merely so that you may see more clearly, but so that you may stand more rightly. When you stand in the position I have established, everything that does not belong to you will begin to fall away without struggle. misaligned connections, distorted thoughts, fears that once clung tightly to your soul. All of these will gradually lose their authority over you. For light does not fight darkness, it simply shines. And darkness dissolves. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. I am teaching you something deeper than awareness. I am teaching you spiritual authority. You no longer bow to voices that once made you feel small. You are no longer shaped by memories that once questioned your worth. Those things had their time, but they no longer have authority over you. I am restoring the axis of your soul, so that you no longer live by the reflexes of woundedness, but by the consciousness of restored identity. Feel this deeply. My beloved child, a new atmosphere is covering you. Not an atmosphere of striving, not an atmosphere of tension, but an atmosphere of being anointed. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me, Isaiah 61:1. And this anointing is not emotion, but commissioning. It does not make you try harder, it makes you align more truly with what I have placed within you. When you open your mouth, your words are no longer merely personal thoughts, but carry the weight of my confirmation. When you are silent, that silence is not empty, but filled with a peace that has the authority to reorganize the spiritual atmosphere around you. When you walk, you are not only moving through physical space, but carrying an atmosphere that shifts the environment you pass through. Not because you are the center, but because my presence is becoming more clearly manifest within you through this restoration. My beloved, remember Moses when he descended from the mountain after encountering me. His face reflected such glory that others had to cover their eyes. Exodus 34:29-30. That did not come from personal effort, but from abiding in my presence. In the same way, you do not need to strive to create influence. You only need to remain where I have placed you, and my presence within you will accomplish the rest. You do not carry the mark of perfection, but the mark of restoration, and that mark is not given for pride, but for recognition that I have reordered what was once disordered. I will restore to you the years the locust has eaten. Joel 2:25. This means what was once lost is no longer an ending, but is being rewritten within a new order of grace. I do not call you one who is trying to become strong. I call you one who is being established in the strength already given. Be strong and courageous, Joshua 1-9, not because you produce the strength, but because you walk in my companionship. And when you understand this, you will no longer seek to prove your worth, but live as one already affirmed. My beloved child, rise, not in panic to validate yourself, but in the steadiness of one who knows they have been called. When you stand like this, you will see something clearly. What once stood against you no longer has the ability to define your position, for you are no longer standing in your former place, but in the position I have re-established by my own hand. The Lord is steadfast forever, Psalm 9-7, and you are being anchored into that steadfastness. Therefore, from this moment on, you are no longer one who is carried away by circumstances, but one who carries the stability of heaven within your very steps. My beloved child, allow this word to sink into the deepest layer of your being, beyond the noise of your past. For I am speaking to you not only as one who is healed, but as one who is entrusted. I will make you a light for the nations, Isaiah 49-6. And that light does not stop at illuminating your personal life. It reaches into the unseen streams flowing through your family, your bloodline, and the generations after you. My child, I am not only healing you so that you may find personal peace. I am healing you so that you may become the termination point of cycles that have continued for too long in your lineage. Repeating patterns of pain, inherited responses of fear, suppressed silences, unnamed wounds, All of these have run through the spiritual bloodstream of generations. But I declare to you, within you, a new boundary is being established. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation, 2 Corinthians 5:17. And a new creation always carries the authority to break the old. When you stand in your appointed position, you are no longer merely an individual living your own life. You become a spiritual boundary, a boundary that darkness cannot cross without being exposed by light. When you intercede, you are not only speaking, you are opening a new space in the spiritual realm, where what has been locked for generations begins to find release. When you forgive, you are not only freeing another person, you are breaking unseen chains that once bound entire systems of emotion and response within your lineage. Carry each other's burdens, Galatians 6:2. And in that carrying, freedom spreads beyond the limits of a single life. My beloved child, you are not merely a survivor. You are a turning point of a rewritten lineage. I place this honor upon you, not to create pressure within you, but so you may recognize the true weight of grace operating in your life. For as you step into the light, you do not walk alone. You carry forward what belongs to you in the spiritual order, even things that were never released before. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it, John 1:5. And the light within you is beginning to expand beyond the boundaries of your personal existence. I want you to understand this deeply. You are not standing at the end of a broken chain, but at the intersection of transformation, where the old ends and the new begins. You are not defined by your family's past, but are being used by me to rewrite how that stream continues. And this does not come from your effort, but from the commissioning I have placed upon your life as you walk in obedience. Therefore, do not fear the weight of this, for I do not place upon you anything beyond the ability I have given you. My yoke is easy and my burden is light, Matthew 11:30. And within that lightness of burden, you will realize that true strength is not found in striving, but in standing in the correct position. My beloved child, I also want you to understand the silence into which I am leading you. It is not an empty silence, nor a withdrawal from life, but a spiritual space where I am training your discernment. In this silence, you do not lose your ability to act, you learn to act at the right time. There is a time to speak and a time to be silent, Ecclesiastes 3-7. And this discernment is part of the authority I am restoring within you. In stillness, you will hear more clearly the movements that were once hidden by external noise. You will recognize when a thought that is not from me begins to form. You will sense when a direction is out of alignment with my will. You will know when to stop before deviation occurs, and when to move as a spiritual door opens. This is not emotional sensitivity, but spiritual sharpness refined in my presence. Remember Elisha as he walked with Elijah. He did not merely ask for power, but for a double portion of your spirit, 2 Kings 2-9. And when he received it, he did not act in chaos, but in deep discernment. In the same way, I am making you sharp, not to react quickly, but to recognize rightly. My beloved child, in this silence, I am doing something greater than you realize. I am transforming how you carry your presence. You are no longer a presence driven by reaction, but a presence carrying authority. When you enter a place, you do not need many words to shift the atmosphere, for your inner stability will accomplish it. When you are silent, it is not absence of action, but stability in motion. The Lord is my strength, Psalm 28-7. And this strength is not loud, but steady. As you begin to operate from this spiritual stillness, you will not be drained by reaction, but guided by discernment. You will not waste energy on what does not belong to you, but will invest it precisely where, when, and for what it is meant. My beloved child, I am establishing a new order within you. You no longer live in instability, but in positioning. You are no longer pulled by external voices, but anchored in my calling. And as you stand in this order, you will see clearly. Darkness does not fear you because of your effort, but because you have been placed in the position I ordained before the foundation of the world. Stand firm, then, in the freedom. Galatians 5:1. For this freedom is not merely deliverance, but the authority to stand where I have called you to stand as a turning point, as a mark, and as one who carries transformation for an entire lineage through your very life. My beloved child, receive this not as a passing idea, but as a deep activation within your soul, where I am re-establishing the rhythm of your life according to the breath of heaven itself. The Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living being, Genesis 2-7. And now, I am not merely sustaining life within you, but awakening the depth of the mission you were appointed to before you even knew who you were. My beloved, the breath I am breathing into you is not to produce something externally new in appearance, but to awaken what was already sown within you, yet hidden by time, by wounds, and by the exhaustion of your journey. This breath is not loud, yet it carries the power to restructure how you perceive reality. When you see, you will no longer perceive only the surface, but also the motives behind it. When you listen, you will not only hear words, but discern the intention beneath them. When you enter a place, you will sense its spiritual reality, for I am making you sensitive to what natural sight cannot reach. The Spirit searches all things, even the deep things of God, 1 Corinthians 2:10. And that same Spirit is now at work within you, so that you are no longer limited by natural perception, but led by discernment that comes from me. This is not the sensitivity of unstable emotion, but the stability of a soul anchored in truth. You will find that, as this breath operates within you, you will no longer depend on human validation. Praise will not inflate you, and criticism will not collapse you, for your identity is no longer suspended upon the reactions of the world, but sealed in heaven's affirmation. You are my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Luke 3:22. And that affirmation does not change with circumstance, because it comes from the one who does not change. My beloved child, I am drawing you out of a state of waiting for miracles as something external, into the realization that you yourself have become the place where miracles operate. You are not the source of power, but you carry my presence, and wherever my presence moves, spiritual order begins to shift. Just as Peter walked and even his shadow brought healing, Acts 5:15. It was not because he was the source, but because he carried the entrusted presence. When you speak, your words are not merely sound, but carry the breath I have breathed into you. When you pray, your words do not only rise upward, but touch unseen realms that operate behind circumstances. When you walk, you are not merely moving through physical space, but opening pathways within the spiritual order I have already established. This is the operation of one who no longer lives by reaction, but by divine commission. You no longer need to ask, "Am I with you?" For I have clearly spoken. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. And this presence is not merely beside you, but within your very breath, your heartbeat, and every step you take. When you recognize this, fear will no longer find a place within you, for it has no foundation left to sustain its influence. My beloved child, I am sending you into this generation, not as one carrying instability, but as one carrying divine positioning, You carry peace not to keep it for yourself, but to release it. You carry vision not merely to observe, but to lead the way. You carry discernment not to doubt everything, but to walk with precision in what I place before you. You are the light of the world, Matthew 5:14, and that light does not struggle against darkness, it simply exists. And darkness withdraws. When you enter the places I send you, you do not need to prove anything, for your very presence, carrying my breath, is enough to shift the atmosphere. My beloved child, this is the hour in which you no longer operate from a place of woundedness, but from a place of restoration, no longer from old memory, but from new identity, no longer from doubt, but from assurance. And as you walk in this state, you will understand something profound. You are not walking alone, and you have never walked alone. My beloved, slow down in this moment not to pause your journey, but so that your soul may be anchored again in the presence I am covering you with like a gentle stream of light. Be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46:10. That stillness is not emptiness, but the space where I am reordering within you what has been shaken by time, by wounds, and by voices that do not belong to truth. There are moments when I do not take you further outward, but deeper inward, not to make you do more, but to return you to yourself within my light. And in that return, you will realize that your true identity was never something newly created, but something already written in me before you were formed. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, Jeremiah 1-5. This means there has never been a moment you were outside my knowing, even when you thought you had drifted far. My beloved child, as you remain in the stillness into which I am leading you, you will begin to sense a different flow moving through your soul. No longer the instability of condemnation, no longer the lingering shadow of the past pulling from behind, but a gentle restoration like warm water, re-establishing life in the deepest parts of your being. I do not come to you in haste, for true healing is not born from pressure, but from the patience of love. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted, Psalm 34:18. And in that nearness, you are being rebuilt layer by layer. You will come to understand that the battles you have walked through were not meant to destroy you, but to separate you from the smaller version of yourself that the world once imposed upon you. There are things you once believed about yourself that did not come from me, but from unhealed experiences. Yet I am using even this process to make clear the distinction between what is true and what is distorted. And when my light touches those deeper places, you will no longer be bound by old definitions. My beloved child, I do not heal you in urgency, but through gentle unfolding. Every layer removed is a layer of you being returned to truth. Every release is a return, and in this process, you will realize that you are not only being healed, but being redefined in my light. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation, 2 Corinthians 5:17. That newness is not loud, but enduring, not rushed, but profound. You will see that the fear that once guided your steps is losing its authority. It no longer has the ability to direct your path as it once did. And this is not because you are fighting it, but because my presence within you has become greater than it. When light increases, darkness does not need to be defeated, it simply fades. And I am causing that light to grow within you day by day. My beloved child, I am not drawing you into silence to hide you from the world, but to make clear what truly belongs to you. In stillness, you are not diminished, you are being reshaped, not reduced, but refined. And as you begin to recognize me in that quiet space, you will see that everything truly belonging to you has never disappeared. It was only waiting for you to become still enough to see it again. What I want you to understand more deeply is this. When I draw you closer, It is not a sign of limitation, but a sign of release. Come near to God, and He will come near to you, James 4:8. That nearness does not shrink your life. It expands your capacity to live in dimensions you have never touched before. As you lean into me, you will realize that the whispers I place within your heart are not meant to bring temporary calm, but to become an inner axis within you. When external chaos shifts, that axis does not move. When circumstances fluctuate, it remains steady. And from that stability, you begin to live no longer from reaction, but from discernment. You will see what you could not see before. You are stronger than the fear that once surrounded you, greater than the past that once defined you, and brighter than the darkness that once tried to cover you. Not because your nature has changed, but because your true nature is being revealed. My beloved child, this nearness to me will transform the way you walk. You will no longer walk in hesitation, but in certainty. You will no longer speak from defensiveness, but from steadiness. You will no longer live as one being pulled backward, but as one being led forward. The Lord will go before you, Isaiah 52:12. And when you realize this, you will understand that you have never walked alone, and you have never been left behind in any stage of your journey. My beloved child, rest in this truth. I am making you become yourself, not the version distorted by fear, but the original image I placed within you from the beginning. And in that return, you are not only being healed, but restored to the wholeness I have always kept for you. I am in you. I am with you. And I go before you. And as you step forward, you will see that everything I have prepared for you is no longer far away, but unfolding within every step you take today. My beloved child, slow down in this moment, not to halt your journey, but so your soul may be anchored in the presence I am covering you with, like a gentle stream of light. Be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46:10. That stillness is not emptiness, but the space where I am reordering within you what has been disturbed by time, by wounds, and by voices that do not belong to truth. There are times when I do not take you further outward, but deeper inward, not so that you may do more, but so that you may return to yourself within my light. And in that return, you will realize that your true identity was never something newly created, but something already written in me before you were formed. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, Jeremiah 1-5. This means there has never been a moment in which you were outside my knowing, even when you believed you had drifted far. My beloved child, as you remain in the stillness I am leading you into, you will begin to sense a different flow moving through your soul. No longer the instability of condemnation, no longer the lingering shadow of the past, but a gentle restoration like warm water, re-establishing life in the deepest parts of your being. I do not come to you in haste, for true healing is not born from pressure, but from the patience of love. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted, Psalm 34:18. And in that nearness, you are being rebuilt layer by layer. You will come to understand that the battles you have walked through were not meant to break you, but to separate you from the smaller version of yourself that the world once imposed upon you. There are things you once believed about yourself that did not come from me, but from unhealed experiences. Yet I am using even this process to make clear the distinction between what is true and what is distorted. And when my light touches those deeper places, you will no longer be bound by old definitions. My beloved child, I do not heal you in urgency, but through gentle unfolding. Every layer removed is a layer of you being returned to truth. Every release is a return. And in this process, you will realize that you are not only being healed, but being redefined in my light. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. 2 Corinthians 5:17. That newness is not loud, but enduring, not rushed, but profound. You will see that the fear that once guided you is losing its authority. It no longer has the ability to direct your steps as it once did. And this is not because you are striving against it, but because my presence within you has become greater than it. When light increases, darkness does not need to be fought, it simply fades. And I am causing that light to grow within you day by day. My beloved child, I am not drawing you into stillness to hide you from the world, but to make clear what truly belongs to you. In stillness, you are not diminished, you are being reshaped, not reduced, but refined. And as you begin to recognize me in that quiet space, you will see that everything truly belonging to you has never disappeared. It has only been waiting for you to become still enough to see it again. What I want you to understand more deeply is this: when I draw you near, it is not a sign of limitation, but a sign of release. Come near to God and He will come near to you, James 4:8. That nearness does not shrink your life, it expands your capacity to live in depths you have never touched before. As you lean into me, you will realize that the whispers I place within your heart are not meant to bring temporary calm, but to become an inner axis within you. When external chaos shifts, that axis does not move. When circumstances fluctuate, it remains steady. And from that stability, you begin to live no longer from reaction, but from discernment. You will see what you could not see before. You are stronger than the fear that once surrounded you, greater than the past that once defined you, and brighter than the darkness that once tried to cover you. Not because your nature has changed, but because your true nature is being revealed. My beloved child, this closeness with me will transform the way you walk. You will no longer walk in hesitation, but in certainty. You will no longer speak from defensiveness, but from steadiness. You will no longer live as one being pulled backward, but as one being led forward. The Lord will go before you, Isaiah 52:12. And when you realize this, you will understand that you have never walked alone, and you have never been left behind in any stage of your journey. My beloved child, rest in this truth. I am making you become yourself, not the version distorted by fear, but the original image I placed within you from the beginning. And in this return, you will not only be healed, but restored to the wholeness I have always kept for you. My beloved child, allow me to place upon you a quiet yet deep perspective, where your soul is no longer pulled by old judgments about yourself. There are moments when you think you are weak, easily broken, shaken by things beyond your strength. But you do not see what I am doing in those moments. I am standing very close to you, so close that my breath covers every space you thought was dangerous. I will never leave you nor forsake you, Hebrews 13:5. And that word is not only for when you feel strong, but especially for when you think you are not enough. My beloved child, I have never allowed you to walk alone in any step, like a father patiently holding the hand of a child learning to walk. I do not lift you too quickly, nor do I release you too soon. There are times you thought you were falling, but in truth, I was holding you in a way you could not yet recognize. And even in what you called failure, I was quietly bringing you closer to the original design I prepared for you. The Lord upholds all who fall, Psalm 145:14. This means there has never been a moment where you touched the ground without me there to rebuild your foundation. And the breath I am breathing into you is not loud or overwhelming, but steady and faithful, so steady that it is gradually reconstructing the very foundation of your inner life, layer by layer. Within your soul, my beloved child, I am turning the places you once saw as points of breaking into places where I establish new strength. What you called weakness, I am using to form within you a right dependence upon me. What you called impossibility, I am using to reveal power that does not originate from man. My power is made perfect in weakness, 2 Corinthians 12-9. And within this process, you are not being discarded, you are being reshaped. Every tear you have ever shed has not been forgotten. Every night you thought you were alone has not been erased. Every battle you have walked through was not an empty space of suffering, but an area where I have placed the seal of my presence. You may not see me standing in front of you, but I have always stood behind what is unfolding, holding you back from falling into the depths you thought you were approaching. And I want you to understand this clearly. There is no fragment of your life that is wasted. What you thought was breaking you is being used by me to open deeper dimensions within you that you could not have accessed otherwise. Those who you thought harmed you have, in ways beyond your understanding, touched places that I intended to heal so that you would no longer be bound by them. For I know the plans I have for you, Jeremiah 29-11, and within that plan, nothing is wasted. My beloved child, there are seasons that appear to be endings, but are in truth harvests preparing the next unfolding, not through erasure, but through transformation. I do not erase your past, I transform its meaning. What was once pain becomes foundation. What was once a wound becomes a testimony of survival and restoration. You are no longer defined by what you have lost. You are being defined by what I continue to hold within you. I have engraved you on the palms of my hands, Isaiah 49-16. And this means no loss has the power to erase my remembrance of you. My beloved, as you begin to see through this light, you will no longer perceive your life as a chain of broken fragments, but as a continuous process being intentionally reconnected. You will realize that even the parts you thought were misdirection were still held within my guiding hand. And then you will understand something deeper. The ground you are about to enter is not a reward for your endurance, but an inheritance because you belong to me. If children, then heirs, Romans 8:17. And an heir does not enter through doubt, but through assurance that what is given does not come from effort, but from covenant. My beloved child, I am leading you out of an old way of seeing yourself into a new understanding. You are not one who is constantly being repaired, but one who is being perfected within my ongoing work. And when you see this clearly, you will no longer walk by fluctuating emotion, but by a steady certainty that I have never left you, not even for a moment. Thank you for listening to this message. Know this, you are not merely an audience. You are chosen to live daily in the presence of the Word of God. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you will not miss any spiritual message. Amen.
day.